Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking out our videos. We really appreciate it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead and click that little bell, get notifications when we upload new videos. Today I've got an installation video for you. We're going to install Relion Battery's new battery monitor. It's a pretty cool little battery monitor. It's panel mounted. We're going to have to run a couple wires and get it hooked up to a shunt. But it should be a good time, so stick with me and we'll get this little battery monitor installed. So this is the new battery indicator or battery gauge from Relion Battery. Pretty cool little gauge, and we're going to unbox this gauge today, and then we're going to follow the install steps and we'll show you how to install it. This battery gauge has a voltage range of 8 to 80 volts and 0 to 500 amp range or current, and 0 to 1000 amp hour battery pack. So let's get it open and take a look. So the first thing we have here are the instructions, the user guide. Pretty good user guide. Let me open it up here all the way. Here we go. So it's got the electrical parameters here. You can pause your video and check those out. Included components are the shunt, a shielded wire, which actually is plug and play. So you can plug your shunt into the back of the monitor with the wire that they send. It has a display or the monitor itself. Plastic bracket and a butterfly nut to panel mount the battery gauge. You will need a wire to run power to the shunt, and actually there's a board made on the shunt we'll look at in a minute where you hook the power wire. A 1 amp inline fuse is recommended for the shunt to run battery power to the monitor, and then your additional battery cable, and we'll look at that when we do the install. To actually connect the shunt to your battery pack, and a 54 millimeter hole saw or knockout tool. We need to cut around 54 millimeter hole for it to fit into. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to install. This kind of shows you how to connect it, so you can see the little red wire there going to the shunt for power, and that actually feeds power to the monitor. The shielded wire is one I was talking about, that is plug and play. Plug it into the shunt and then plug it into the battery monitor. And then the blue line represents the negative cable coming off your battery. And then out of the shunt here to the right is actually your negative loads for your coach. So we'll take a look at that as well. And then setting up the indicator, basically make sure your batteries are fully charged. Plug it in. You have to program and tell it how many amp hours of battery you have for your battery pack. In our case, we have 600 amp hours, so we'll have to program that in. And it does come with a 1-year limited warranty. So let's unbox this thing. So we got a little protective foam here. We'll get that out of the way. This is the battery monitor itself. It's got a lead on it. I don't know, it's about 15, 16 inches long with the plug, and this plug will plug into this extension wire. We'll lay that aside here. This is the lead wire that I was talking about, this plug and play. So this plugs into the shunt, and then this end plugs in to the monitor itself like that. We have the bracket that goes on the back of the monitor, and then we have a butterfly nut that goes on there, and that's how you panel mount it. So we'll take a look at that during our install. And then we have the shunt itself. This will be your battery coming in, then your load going out, and then power wire off the battery to power the monitor. And this is where the extension wire plugs in right here. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. They've really kind of thought of everything to make the installation as simple as possible. So you can kind of choose to mount this battery monitor wherever you like. We've decided to mount it right here in the cabinet, right next to all of our other switches and controls. And we're going to cut a hole here. This is our 54 millimeter hole for the monitor, and we're going to mount the monitor right here. Alright, so this is the negative cable coming off of my battery bank. We're going to install the Relion fuel gauge shunt right here. and we're going to connect it to my existing shunt for my other battery monitor. Normally this would go just directly to your load, but we're going to put these two shunts in series. On this shunt, you'll see that this battery minus attaches to the battery lead, and then the P attaches to your loads. So we're going to connect this here. Remember, this is the negative battery terminal. My batteries actually sit on the other side of the wall in a temperature controlled space. Because I've got the rest of my battery peripherals, so to speak, out here, I'm going to go ahead and mount this Relion fuel gauge shunt out here as well. In order to complete the circuit, I'm going to attach this short cable that I made. So let me get this connected. So I'll tighten up these connections, and then I've got to complete the running of the communication cable that will plug in here, and then we'll have to run a power wire from this B plus over to the positive side of my circuit. So let me get these tightened up, and then we'll finish running that wire. Alright, so here inside the coach we're going to install the battery monitor, and I've already cut a hole in my panel here, and we pulled this wire through to the front compartment where the batteries live. So this will simply snap into here, and this is the, there we go, and this is the actual monitor. So we're going to pull this wire through, and we'll just put this excess wire back in the cabinet, and this will snap into the hole that I've made, just like that. This is the back of the battery monitor here. We're going to utilize this metal bracket that's included in the box. I'm going to slip it over this post, and then there is a wing nut that threads on the post like this. And then we can tighten it down, and it will snug the back of the battery monitor up against the back of this panel. Okay, now we're going to reinstall this panel. Battery fuel gauge installation is complete. Now we'll go back outside and we'll connect the power and plug the battery indicator into the shunt, and then we'll have to come back in and program the fuel gauge to tell it how many amp hours of batteries we have in our battery pack. Alright, so back here in the battery bay we've got our shunt connected. This is the communication wire going up front to the battery fuel gauge, so we're going to plug it in right here, just like this. Pretty simple, plug and play. The next step is to connect the power wire that feeds power to the battery fuel gauge. We're going to connect the wire here to this battery plus. We'll tighten down the connector. Just like that. Alright, with power off, we're going to remove this screw from the positive side of the bus bar, and we're going to connect this positive wire. This feeds power to the battery monitor. Alright, now that we've got that connected, we can put this cover back on to protect these positive wires. Alright, so we've recovered our positive bus bar. We've connected power to our shunt, which will in turn take power up to the fuel gauge we just mounted in the cabinet, and we've connected the communication wire. So now we'll go back into the RV and make sure that the battery fuel gauge is operating properly. Alright, Alright, so we've got power to our battery monitor. You can see here that it's flashing. According to the setup instructions, we need to tell the battery monitor how much amp hours our battery pack is. So this is amperage. We'll go to voltage, 13.48 volts. That's about right. So now we're going to enter the capacity. We're going to hold this amp hour button for 3 seconds. There we go. Now we'll increase to 600 amp hours because that's our capacity. If we hold the button, it will go up automatically on its own. $600. Alright, so if we press the voltage, it shows us that our batteries are at 13.48 volts positive, so they're charging. If we hit the amp button, it says that we're currently drawing or pulling in 17.5 amps. Press it again, it says we've got 0.7 amp hours, which is incorrect. The thing still has to learn. And it's saying that we're at 0.1% state of charge. What we're going to do is we're going to get the batteries charged to 100%, and then we'll reset that so it will know we're at 100%. Alright, well there you have it. Thanks for joining me today for this Relion battery indicator install. It went pretty smooth. It's fairly straightforward. So go out and pick yourself up one of these. I'll put a link in the description below for it. We also have a discount code on Relion batteries going on right now. So check that out as well. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you liked the video. And until next time, safe travels. Bye.